Hello everyone, I am Amay Kokate and I welcome you to the Genesis Academy presents the Kickstart. Today we have Ayushi Nigam with us who is currently working as a product lead at Savo Labs, mainly associated with SaaS as the name suggests, software as service, and has completed her undergraduation from IT and marketing. It's really great how she became part of several internships, acquired as much practical knowledge as she can, and that definitely must have had a leading edge on her journey and the activities that she's currently handling. To be very honest, many students after completing their undergrad are often baffled with the restricted choices that they have and end up either by aiming for campus recruitments or higher studies through abroad universities. Through this journey, a different perspective can be looked upon with great learning and growth opportunities. So if you want to know how is the work culture at a startup, different from multinational companies, if you want to know that what are the potential qualities required in a candidate, and if you want to know how is the experience and the work environment there, this is the right place for you. Let's get started. Hi Avishi, I hope you're doing well.
Hey, Amay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to begin with, can you describe your journey as you're working in a tech-related company and procured a good designation at a very young age? So
Yes. Okay. So, Amay, I think you know about this that I passed out last year,
yeah,
and it's been a good roller coaster ride of almost 1 year, 7 to 8 months, and like any other kid, I was like just waiting for my placement semester, and I was like, I'll find company somehow. I'll give my best and maybe get placed somewhere and get that ROI. And I did get into a lot of companies, got a few decent offers while studying. Post that, Corona happened. There was a lot of time in my hand because all those offers were supposed to start 6 to 7 months post my graduation, and it's pretty open, pretty bored that I don't have much to do. So I just picked this one internship. Got into that internship via a friend. It was a recommended internship. It was about, so this is an internship where this is about a company which has not even started yet. It's in a ideation phase. Hasn't been registered yet also, and I was that first employee, intern, whatever you want to call it, who got into the company, build a lot of things from very scratch, and that is something which helped me grow and learn as a person. And
yeah.
also,
I also heard that you made the site also, the first website.
yes, so the
Yeah,
first
that's great.
website was. Thank you so much. So that's the reason why my skills came handy, because I knew how to code, because I graduated in BBIT and I studied at least decent amount of coding back in college. So that helped for sure. And yeah, we did a lot of initial research, a lot of first round of funding, talking to investors, and it was really crazy back then. And that's how I think I got a lot of time in my hand. Used to work 16 hours a day for an
Oh, that's a
intern.
lot.
Yeah, exactly. So people these days, they're like 6 to 7 hours they can dedicate. That's the max. But I was pretty bored, and I was like, why not? And I was learning a lot. So you have that connection with that company because you're the very first employee. That is how
Yeah,
it started. Went from an intern to marketing person. Started as marketing manager operations, then shifted to product management because I thought my skills are more appropriate over there. And from there, started leading a team. Eventually, leading a team of somewhere around 12 to 15 people right now.
yeah,
And yeah, that is how the journey has been from for almost about a year or so. Yeah.
yeah. That sums it up. Actually, it's current scenario we all come across, like people who are doing their undergrad in the final year of undergrad. They all are baffled generally by the restricted choices they have. They generally get into
True.
campus recruitments or maybe pursue higher studies through abroad universities. So your journey is something that is a different perspective to look at, and it might give us a lot. See, as you have a lot to learn, and there are a lot of growing opportunities in that way. So that's really great. Okay. So can you take us through the exact details of your everyday work schedule? Like, as in,
Okay.
what are the regular activities that you take care of?
Okay, so like I told you, I'm heading a product over here, and a lot of different departments I take care of or oversee, but that's my main genre. Now, if we talk about what I do as a product manager, there's a lot and there's very less also. Because I have a team, there's a lot of delegation there and I have to manage them. And there's a lot of to and fro and discussions, brainstorming sessions, gossip sessions also at times. So that's it's there. And if you want to know what an ideal day looks like for a PM, it starts with researching. It ends at researching also. A
Yeah.
lot of a lot of part of any product manager is getting to know the market, understanding what are the trends are, knowing what all UI changes they can do, what all UX changes they can do, how exactly changing a button from being round to making it square makes a difference. Uh, Debating about such things also. Today itself, I was in the morning debating with my colleagues that why I should not keep it round and why the button should be square and stuff. And yeah, more or less that I think that you get to make PRDs, you get to make roadmaps, you get to interact with a lot of departments. You can talk to marketing, you can talk to sales, you can talk to sales enablement, customer success, of course, technical department, and you get access to a lot of information because you are the centerpiece of it, and every information passes via you to any other department because you have to be involved,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
So that is more or less the complete day of any product manager, I would say.
Yeah, that's a great source of learning as well. So handling them will definitely lead to more corrections and a better understanding of it. So as we go on. So
100%, yes.
yeah. So as you mentioned that you need to come up with some innovative ideas every time your day starts and ends with research. So what, according to you, like what are the gaps you are seeing in the industry which are a part of, like for example, some changes that you need to incorporate that might eliminate such things?
Okay. Just to be more clear, gaps in terms of hiring or gaps in terms of adoption. How could you be a
Uh,
little more
yeah,
elaborate?
adoption.
Adoption. Okay, great. So if I talk about my product or the company I work in, adoption is a huge North Star metric for us. And why? Because innovative company, it's been only 1 year. We want people to understand what we are trying to do and actually utilize it, right? Now, adoption is a different and difficult task. Why? Because people are used to a certain way, so, a certain situation which they have been doing for past 3 decades. So you can't just go up to them and be like, okay, you're doing it wrong, or we have better things to offer, and just change it.
Yeah.
You have to bring a lot of things to the table. You have to give them a lot of convenience factor. You have to explain them things in their language, especially when it's a B2B company, it's still easy because you have to explain things to the company. Whereas when it comes to a B2C company, you directly have to explain things to the consumer, where things could be difficult and your TAM could be very wide. You can also face people who are from tier 1 cities, or you can also face people who are from tier 4 cities also,
Yeah, and when
right?
it's associated with the consumer, you need to be very specific with their demands as well.
Exactly. You know how where to get them, right? For maybe tier 4 person, price could be a huge factor when they're talking about certain product. But when you're talking to someone who's in tier 1, it could be a state symbol, it could be what the quality is, what all ingredients are there in that particular product, or a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So that's a huge gap. I wouldn't say it's exactly a gap, but yeah, when a new company comes into the picture, or when you are a product manager, or both ways, to be very honest, the whole adoption thing takes a lot of time, whereas a lot of research also. When you're trying to go out and talk to that company and be that product manager and telling them that this product maybe is the right fit for you, you'll have to give them everything they need to hear, and also be a little harsh and tell them that your system is little not it's not working, I'm really sorry. And I think this is something that can help you, and we will give you all the support and everything. So there's always a balance to it.
Yeah, you have to be very honest with them because
Yes.
you cannot just go up with it. So, do you think that with the latest increase in trends of technology, is there a scope you can associate with AI or ML on your side?
Okay, for my company, there's not much scope for AI and ML, but I know a lot of people who are working on these startups right now, and especially in Bangalore and Pune. There are actually so many things which are coming up in that particular industry, and so much unexplored market is there that a lot can be done there in different departments, whether you talk about e-commerce, whether you talk about healthcare, ed tech, or whatever it is. In all these sectors, AI and ML can play a huge part. Though people in states have done a lot of things in this particular sector, even though it's not that for old technology. But when you talk about startups in India or companies in India who are targeting AI ML, it's growing like anything. I can legit open my LinkedIn and talk about 10, 15 AI ML companies which are trying to do crazy stuff, even in finance sector for that matter. So
That's
I,
really
I, th- I think it's growing, and there's a lot of potential there, especially in terms of data, right? So that's one thing. Yeah.
data prediction is something that is more prioritized these days.
100%. And people are getting paid crazy, especially in the field of data. 100%.
Yeah, actually, I also did my workshop once,
Okay.
AI and ML. So I know a
Okay.
few things about it. Yeah.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
thank you. So what sort of work like you're associated? Where does your role comes into Savo Labs? What does Savo Labs actually do?
Okay. So we are a B2B2C company. We usually call ourselves B2B.
Okay.
What we do is, okay, it's
How, if you were to use any app, right? How do you go about it? What's your first step?
I look features that are inside, the benefits that it can give, the security policies. Yeah, the security policies are definitely a priority.
Got it. Got it. No, I'm just trying to understand from a very consumer perspective. You open Amazon and you're opening it for the very first time. You got a new phone, you installed Amazon right now, and you're opening it for the very first time. What's the first step?
I see to it that when I make my payments, when I do all these transactions, it's going in the right safe hands. That I get a good service, product service.
Right.
I keep
So don't you think you have to log in first to actually get to the whole
yeah,
part?
yeah, okay. My data, I'll be sharing my data and everything. So it needs to be in a secure server. It should not be used for other things like advertising or yeah.
Exactly. You have me there. Exactly. So what we do is any app, any website you talk about, what we provide as a product to the companies is right now they either have passwords or OTPs as an SSO or either password systems, right? You have to put in your username, password, you have to put your email ID or password or whatever. And or either SSO, single sign-on option. Now, what we do is for the very first time when you try to log in into any app or website, you'll have to put in your email ID or phone number, whatever your identifier is. You get an OTP to that particular identifier. You authenticate yourself, and there's a key dropped onto your device. Could be your tab, your laptop, your PC, your phone, whatever, right? Now, that key will be the main thing that will be authenticating you every other time. From the next time onwards, you don't have to put any password, any OTP. All you have to do is just put in your email and click login without password.
Yeah, that's it. Just for the initial step.
Just first time you have to put in that OTP just because we want to verify your identifier.
Yeah.
Identified your identifier and your browser also, because we also have a trusted device feature that only certain device can be trusted, which you want to be trusted. And then that key is dropped onto your device. Now, all you have to do it is put in your email ID or your phone number and just click the button. Nothing else. No forgetting password, not getting OTPs, getting OTPs like hours later and stuff, because there are a lot of problems involved there, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Second thing, if you talk about companies, big companies who ends up selling your data, or there's a huge chance key, even if they're not selling it, there are a lot of phishing happening where your data just gets leaked, right?
Yeah,
We
get messages and mails from different sites because of that. Yeah.
got this Domino's case recently. They were not sharing it, but it's got leaked, right?
Yes.
So there's that. Now, what we do is we don't store your data.
Oh, yeah.
All the data goes directly to if Amazon's using Savo Labs, all the data directly goes to Amazon. Now it's between you and Amazon how you guys wish to agree upon certain terms, but we are not storing any data on the login. So there's no chance of your login credentials, the login details getting phished.
Yeah, there's no chance it can be misused.
Exactly, because it doesn't exist. The whole payload is being given to the directly to the company, right? So that's there. There are a lot of cost benefits and everything which is related to the company. A lot of companies ends up paying 25 paise for one authentication. One authentication is your one OTP, right? At times we only end up clicking resend OTP 4 to 5 times because we're not getting it. And then we get 6, 7, and companies paying 25 paise every OTP. We're providing it at 5 paise.
Okay, so it's beneficial economically as well.
Yes, 100%. So that's more or less what the whole product is about. We're trying to change how you onboard any customer onto your site and make it very convenient for them and very swift also. So that is what Travel
That's
Labs.
really cool. So,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, so I'll just drift that topic a bit. So for candidates aspiring for startups, how do you like land a job or an internship opportunity there? And what is the appropriate way to approach them, to be more precise?
Okay. See, the best thing this I would say is first analyze what you actually wish to do, right? And even if you don't know, startups are the best place. In big companies, you get lost because you don't know what exactly you wish to do, and you just get something, you get into those companies, and you just end up doing something you don't wish to do, right? They'll hire you saying that you will be doing software development, you end up doing testing.
Yeah.
Right. That's the very fair and blunt answer, because that is what is happening. So there's nothing wrong about saying it out loud. Whereas when it comes to startups, even if you are not so very sure that what you wish to do, but you still have the skill set, or even if you're confident enough and you're ready to learn, you can always approach any startups to start with internships, for that matter. I'm not even talking about full-time roles right now, but if you talk about internships, just best way to reach out to them is see what all startups are getting funding. Go to your story, go to Glassdoor, see how many new startups got funded, how many startups are there in particular space which you wish to work into. Some people might want to work in the finance sector, some in AIML, like you said, and some could be into the whole basic IT sectors, could be service companies, who are the small service companies and everything. Now you can always reach out to their HRs directly. You'll find their email IDs very easily, or via LinkedIn, you can just text them and be like that I'm looking for a certain internship in this particular industry. Even if they don't have a open job on LinkedIn, even if you just text them and be like, okay, I'm looking for something in this particular field and this is what my resume is, could you just get back to me? And I'm flexible with roles, right?
Yeah.
So that way you'll be able to communicate directly with that person. You'll be able to get in you'll have less amount of steps, because you'll have a better relationship with that person, instead of just going randomly and applying to things which you just directly see on LinkedIn. This is a much better way. You'll get their email ID, just send in your resume via that email ID, and you'll get in this system. Everything post that is about how your skills are. See, every startup is different. Certain startups work in certain manner, the other works in a different manner altogether. Some are run by people who are maybe in their 40s, 50s, so the whole structure and everything is like that. But there are also startups which are run by people who are in their 20s, and they are running it. The culture is different altogether. So
Yeah.
usually when I hire anyone, I don't care if they are from IIM or IIT or maybe a third year college. What I care about is what's their skill set. Are they ready to learn? Are they even eager about knowing that, okay, this is something I want to do and this is what I know, what else I can get on my plate?
Yeah,
So
that's a fair point, because more than the degree, it should be the amount of courses that you've done, the skills you have. Are you willing to learn? That's what really matters. Because
100%. Yes.
yeah, even if you have a degree, it doesn't matter if you can't give your 100% inside. So yeah, that's a fair point. So what according to you is the difference between startup culture and multinational companies in terms of their learning and growth opportunities?
You'll get growth in both the options. Of course, they both have their pros and cons. If you go to multinational companies, there's always that recognition that I'm working for XYZ company, and it's there. Because we are in India, right? We can't do anything much about it. Though it's changing like crazy. The startup culture is booming like anything, especially in past 10 years. And it is being recognized pretty well, because the pay over here as compared to pay to work in the MNCs it's not comparable. They don't pay that much. Startup pays really well.
Yeah.
And difference I would say in terms of growth is because startups are usually, especially early stage startups, which are maybe in their seed or series A or series B funding round sessions, these startups are usually 1 to 50 employees or 50 to 100 maximum. So the way you get groomed and the way you get to learn things, the way you get to interact with different departments is a great exposure. And you get to learn a lot from that. Because if Amey is working in a startup, Amey can talk to someone who's in sales, who is in marketing, who is in customer success, who is handling any other department for that matter, manager, CEO's office, or this, or maybe finance or whatever, right? But whereas if Amey is in some MNC, all he'll be doing is going to his job, getting certain tasks which has been given to him directly, which he doesn't even know who is sending those tasks. He's just getting it on his mail. He's just supposed to do them, send it across, and just go home. So there's definitely a learning curve. I wouldn't say if the learning curve is not there. It's just that maybe your learning curve will go on for 2 to 3 years, whereas in 3 months you can learn a crazy amount of things when you're working for a startup.
Yeah, you tend to take a lot of responsibility because you
Yes.
solely rely on a particular person when it comes to
There's a
startup.
dependency on you. And even if you are an intern, there's a lot which has been given to you. It's not that, because a lot of times when I talk to my friends who work in MNCs, they are pretty free. They don't get too much work and they can roam around, and then all that things are there. But when you work in startup, there are a lot of dependency on you, and you get treated as good as a full-time employee also, that you get that much amount of work. So it's always good to work there because a lot of dependency is there. All sorts of people, you'll find freshers, you'll find people with 10 to 12 years of experience and everything. So you get to learn and interact with them. Whereas when you go to MNCs, you might not be even able to talk to your superiors that directly. Whereas it's a pretty comparatively a grapevine structure where you can like legit talk to anyone.
Yeah, it's like losing yourself in a herd when it comes to multinational company, but you always get noticed in startup companies, as well as
Yes.
there's all-round development of your everything, like your communication skills. You tend to pay a lot of attention into the activities that you are engaged in. So all sorts of development basically,
Yes.
and like you said, financial as well. So
That's
that's
definitely that's the reason you're studying, right?
yeah, that's very important these days.
100%. If you're working that much, you're getting paid for it, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what sort of strategies do you adopt to manage your team, as there are several instances where you must be following work distribution? And if I'm not mistaken, you have a team of 12 to 15 members. So how do you ensure effective participation among them? Like everyone is doing their bit.
Okay, so especially me, if I talk about, different people follow different things. I try to first put people through situations which they're very uncomfortable with. So maybe there's one person who's very good with analytics. So I'll just ask him or her to just go ahead and do analytics bit. This is the thing I expect out of them, and this is something they have to work on, and they'll be comfortable with it. And same with the rest of them. Now, once they're very comfortable and they're good with communicating with each other, when they join the company, of course, and they are very comfortable now, and then they know who's doing what and everything, then I try to put them in different zones, which maybe they are not very comfortable with, but then that's your learning curve.
Yeah, someday you will be exposed to something new, and that's required.
Exactly. Certain people who show certain level of responsibility are also given people below them, so that they can manage those people, maybe interns or full timers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I believe in hierarchies, but I don't believe in that boss and employee structure. So if I have a team below me, they are as good as what I am. That is what I believe, because
That's really nice.
I graduated last year. I'm 22. I have people in my team who are 26, 28, 30, and I can't treat them that way. And I don't wish to also. I treat even the interns equally. I think they are as good as full time because they are putting efforts and they are bringing something to the table. So my structure is very flat that way, that I don't treat different people that way. I try to put different people in different situations just to see how they perform and what is their strong section and how I can take them forward in that particular section. but I try to give them exposure of every section before deciding that which one they actually wish to go forward with. I don't impose things. I expect them to come to me and tell me, ki, Ayushi, I think this is something I really like to work upon, and I think this is something I would want to go forward with. Then why not? If you're doing good in it, if you think you are good at it, and if you like it also, just go about it.
That's nice. So you said that there are some people who greater than age, like seniority wise. So they must be having lots of experience also. They must
Yes,
have come from some prior background, some work experience. So there's always more to learn from them as well.
definitely.
Yeah. So can we also look at it as a required potential qualities in a candidate that you would look while hiring? Because ultimately you test them by putting them in different situations. So
Right.
these are the things that you also look at the candidates that wish to join your startup. So can it be taken that way?
Yeah, I look at few things because you cannot always judge someone maybe by a round or two or three of interviews. So
Yeah.
first of all, certain level of communication, because when it comes to MNC, it's fine. You don't have to talk to many people. You just have to go, maybe make friends and just talk to them. Do not much communication is required over there. When it comes to startup, you get a lot of exposure, right? So recently we did this one event where Shravan Tikku was there, who's a head product at Byju's, and a
Oh,
lot of our interns and team members interacted with him, and there was a huge session around it and everything. So you get such sort of exposure, and if you are getting something like that, we expect certain level of communication skills.
yeah,
So
definitely.
that is one factor. Another would be that certain level of confidence, again due to same reasons. Cultural fit, a certain culture has been built in the company from day one, and we try to hire people who can actually fit in that culture and who will not feel like an outcast or something, right? So something on those grounds also.
Are
And
there also some prerequisites like some qualifications or courses that the candidate should be going through before he's eligible for the interview?
honestly, for interviews, no such thing is required. It's just that depends upon the role, of course, that which role you're applying for. If certain role says that you need 2 years of experience, you need 2 years of experience. But especially you'll find startups hiring a lot of freshers, which, because again, you get a mold which has not been molded yet. So you can actually take them in, teach them a lot of things, and then ask, they'll be working in a way which you wish them to.
Yeah, that's a stepping stone for them.
Yeah, exactly. So the person is getting certain level of uh, uh, this an opportunity for that person, whereas the company is also getting a lot of work because that person is ready to work. Whereas when you have hire people who are very experienced, they come with a lot of rigidities. Now, if that person is very rigid, they'll have to unlearn few things and then maybe learn few things again, because every company works in a different pattern and direction. So, but when back to your question, we don't look at degrees, to be very honest. We, like, if we're hiring developers, we don't expect them to do BE or BTech or whatever. We are okay with anyone who understands and has good skills and has done some amount of projects, of course. And
Some basic knowledge in coding.
basic knowledge I've done, even if personal projects, certain personal projects, they know how to work around things. And when we're hiring interns, of course, when we're hiring full-timers, freshers, we expect them to have done maybe an internship or two to understand how things work around. And but yeah, if the person is really good, this it's not, it's very subjective, to be very honest. If the candidate is good, we don't care. If the candidate requires some level of mentoring, then we just at times see that where they're passing out from. But then again, I told you, I really don't care if they're coming from IIMs or IITs, or it doesn't matter. I've seen people from IITs who are pretty dumb, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the last question. Actually, we have this section where it's unique because we ask this question every time. Like it's a
Okay.
standard structure. So
Yes.
what's your take on lifelong learning since the knowledge that we have today becomes outdated very soon? And looking at the upcoming technologies that rule the market every day with something new, how do you plan on staying aware, like, of all the changes that's going on?
Okay, so I look at it this way, that if I'm in IT industry right now, which is pertaining to certain sector, I try to read something new every day. That way, I think I can keep myself updated of the marketing trends. Of course, I'll have to keep updating my skills to time, maybe do a course or two or something just to understand what new is coming up or what new, because every day a new product is coming up, okay, throughout the world and is again being used throughout the world. And
Yes.
as a product manager, you have to know about these products because you can always pick things up from each other. That is how the whole product management thing works. Now, if I don't know about new products, then I am lacking in my skills. So one platform I suggest for people who want to, who are especially in the IT and the whole product scene, is do check Product Hunt every day. Every day you'll
Yeah.
find top 3 to 5 products who are the top products of the day or week or month or whatever. And you will be able to understand 5 new products which are working in 5 different directions, which will give you certain level of understanding. Okay, this is what they are doing, this is what they are doing, and what maybe you can pick from them. And that is how you get updated also. Okay, oh, this is also a product which can be made and someone has done it. So that is how I keep myself updated, and also upon certain trends which new startups are building or trying to follow and everything. So that is how I believe. I would never say that things you learn get outdated. You will have to keep building a layer upon it, of course.
Yeah.
Everything counts every other day. What I'm doing today will count today, or maybe for next 6 months. What I learned after 6 months will count for next 6 months. And
Yeah, because that basic knowledge is there with you every time.
definitely, it's a stack. You'll have to know HTML to learn new stacks also, right?
And they don't make such drastic changes, so you'll always be able to relate if you have that base.
IT changes or IT revolutions come every 10 to 20 years. So you'll never get that outdated until unless you're 40 or 50. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a very effective way to keep up with the advancement. So okay, so really thank you, Ayushi, for your precious time and interest. We
Thank
hope
you.
we have more such conversations in the future that will
Definitely.
enlighten us even further. Thank you, and we'll drop your LinkedIn profile and everything in the description. So
Sounds
anybody who has some queries related to this can stay in touch, and we'll also put the summaries of this in a while. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ave. It was really nice to talk to you and a great session. Thank you so much for having me.
Really, really a pleasure. Pleasure
Thank
meeting you. Yeah.